Each year, more and more video games come out, but none as iconic as the ones of our childhood. Why do you think that is? Almost every game that has come out recently has been slammed in the reviews and by the public. Have we as an audience become too cynical? Just one example, Redfall, which came out last year, a game made by Arcane Studios, the people behind massive hits such as Dishonored and Prey. Redfall released in 2023 after being anticipated since its announcement, but as soon as it came out, audiences just weren't satisfied and the game flopped, gaining awful reviews all around. Is nostalgia ruining video games? Well, what I mean by this is our expectation for new games too high due to nostalgia and our fondness of old games? Is it causing us to think poorly of anything that comes out in recent times? I want you to take a look on screen. Out of all the games shown on the screen, how many do you have fond memories of playing? Let me guess. You can't recognise any of the games on the left hand side of the screen. Well, that's because they all came out in the last 5 years. Game studios are being forced to remake old games and use the same IPs just so audiences are more likely to buy their game. But is it the developers' fault for doing this, or is it ours for not trying new things, not giving new games a fair shot? Nostalgia as an experience evoked by replaying past video games can significantly contribute to well-being and a sense of social identity. I want you to have a think about that. When you think of replaying a video game from your childhood, why do you do so? Is it to re-experience the feelings you had as a kid? Or is it that the game is just that good you want to keep playing it? Your choice to play the same games over and over could result in hindering the production of new video games, because more and more people are refusing to try new games. One game from my childhood that I constantly replay is Banjo-Kazooie. It came out on the N64 in 1998 but was re-released on the Xbox 360 in 2010. At the time I didn't know it was a remake and I just thought this was just a really good game that I just wanted to play, and as I grew up I did know it was a remake and re-released on the Xbox when it originally came out on the N64. This is just an early example of a game port, and there are many more. I know the game isn't the best, and it is quite simple. There's not much to it compared to many games that came out after, and yet I always find myself coming back. The same is true for a lot of people, which is an issue. We are the problem. Another problem that might be causing recent games to be reviewed so poorly could be the surge of microtransactions in video games. When you buy a game for around £50, you would expect to be able to play all aspects of it. You own it, you bought it, why wouldn't you? But nowadays, more and more games are keeping characters, levels, even entire sections of the game behind a paywall, forcing players to pay extra just to experience the full game. Some may argue that developers are forced to do this as the cost of making video games is more than ever, and the people who are actually buying these games are few as ever. Nostalgia is something we all fall victim to, and there is a feeling we all experience fairly often. Media nostalgia describes the nostalgia that is triggered when one consumes exactly the same content, and in doing so remembers the bygone experience during the current one. That is the feeling that most people strive to get when they play old video games. Pay close attention to the music that is playing. Is there anything you notice? I'm sure that you recognise this music. Maybe you don't know what game it is from, but you do recognise it nonetheless. That was from the original Legend of Zelda for the NES. Even though this game was released in the mid-80s, the impact it had is everlasting. Now listen to this. Again, I'm assuming you at least recognise this theme, or maybe it even brings you back fond memories of you playing New Super Mario Bros. For the DS. The last time I'm going to ask this, I promise, but listen once more to the next track. Do you recognise this? No? Well, this is from Resident Evil Village, an incredibly popular game which came out in 2021. The game was covered by many popular YouTubers and streamers. After they completed it, it once again faded into obscurity, even though it was nominated for Game of the Year. Music is nice, and there isn't anything objectively wrong with it. We just don't have the same memories with Resident Evil as we do with the original Mario Bros. Or The Legend of Zelda. Music isn't the only part of games we tend to remember. Maybe there's a certain level, or worlds that create this nostalgia for you. This feeling you want to feel again, so you replay the games. This is where newer games don't have this advantage. They don't have memories attached to their music or levels. No matter how good a game can be, it still won't feel the same as you replaying a game from your childhood that you know and love. Is there a way we can combat this, or is the video game industry doomed to fail? That's up to you. You have to be willing and flexible to new games. Maybe the controls aren't the same as you're used to, or the graphics of this new game are unique. Keep being open-minded. If you feel yourself going back to an old game, just stop and think. Try something new. Don't play a role in the death of an industry.